Well, this afternoon, President Cyril Ramaphosa and Botswana President Mokgweetsi Masisi are expected to visit the Mamatlakala Bridge outside Mokopane in Limpopo, where 45 Botswana nationals perished in a bus crash. The deceased were on their way to the St. Engenas Zion Christian Church for the Easter conference in Moria outside Polokwane. An 8-year-old girl, Lorraine Atlang Siako, is the sole survivor. Earlier, SABC News Pimani Baloyi spoke to residents of Mamatlakala.
Residents of Mamatlakala outside Mokopane and Limpopo have started gathering at the Mamatlakala Bridge, where 45 Botswana nationals lost their lives on the eve of Easter as they were traveling to the St. Engenas Zion Christian Church for the Easter service. This as their bus plunged off the rail and fell into this about 50 meters into a river down here. This has shocked residents here. Today, the president of South Africa and that of Botswana are expected to visit this crash scene at around after midday to see what actually happened here. But to speak more about this, I'm joined by some residents who are already gathered here. Mr. Moria is going to be our first guest. He says he was one of the first people to arrive at the scene just after that bus had plunged into this river down there. Mr. Moria, re lebwana kwa lena le re lebile ba bangwe ba mathomo fihla mo ntlhalosetseng le fihla le go maneng
le he re fihla ra khumana he lore bus e yaswa after 30 minutes e wile khumana lore yaswa kantle go ne le batho ba bararo ba e ba tshwetseng kantle ha tsela ya be hore o ne le mme o mongwe e be a sa bolela but ba robile mmele ka moka ya be ngwana wa 8 years o ibile a gona o tlhalosa hore be ba ya Moria ba ya dithapelong ya be hore mo re leng gona ha o ne network ra tloa ra nya ka mo be le network gore re gone o krea ba thusho a pele gore ba tle ba re thushe ke he re tlo founela police station maphodisa uwe a rile a fitla go rena ba kry ile re be ke tshwere spatch ka ba fa spatch se ba gona go bona gore ke batho ba o tlhaka ba kry ile re ba kry passport le smart card se re bolela gore ba tla Botswana ya be gore batho ka moka he ba se heswa ba swile re ba lebeletse ka lebaka la go tlhoka ditirelo gauswi bo tsene batho ba be ba ka tima mollo ka mogwe bo swa ka ona io ba gore na re ba lebeletse fela wa swa ka gore go sene se be re ka se dira taba ya go sha botlhoko ke ya ngwana he be a bolela gore batswadi ba tšha ka bua fase pelo ya ba botlhoko gore na he be le gore ke nnete batswadi ba swa ka bua fase na ngwana go tlo shala a phela ha le juang ha le tee mo lefaseng.
After le founetse maphodisa wa e ka ba itse nako e kankang gore ba fihle batho ba o thusha batho ba
maphodisa ona a re tiere almost 1 hour ba o thusha ba tlile ka ba reng ba ka re thusha ba di safety ba ditima mollo ba tlile mollo e setse o felelela ya be gore o fedile.
I'm sure lesa tshware botlhoko ka gore le bone tiragalo ye monano wa lena le gomane thusha ya monano
awa ha one mo ibile ra tlhatlhiwa monano ona ijo ba gore e feletse strateng jwa le ka e feletse jwa le ka mamotla
mara le kwele botlhoko
e sa go sha botlhoko o menagane.
Thank you so much. That is Mr. Moria, who says he was one of the first people to arrive at the scene just after that bus had crashed into this bridge. And he says when he got here, 3 people were actually up here. One being, we understand, if you listen to the story, sounds like the grandmother to the sole survivor, another lady and that sole survivor. Earlier when we were speaking to him, he says actually when they got here, the sole survivor was actually running up and down. You could see that she had a lot of adrenaline rush, and from what he could gather, she had injuries on her shoulder and even on her head. But then she told them what broke his heart, according to him, was when she told him that her family, her parents were part of the people who were down there where the bus had fallen in, and they were part of the people who were burning in that bus. And he states that after they arrived here, he thinks they arrived there about 30 minutes after that bus crashed, and then they left this vicinity because, as I was stating, stating there is no signal here. They left to the village where they got signal and they called police officers. He says police arrived about an hour or so after they made that first call, and the firefighters arrived about 2 hours after they made that first call. He says they unfortunately watched those people burn to death because there was nothing they could do to help. He states that he feels if emergency response was faster than it was, perhaps some of the lives would have been saved. There are also other residents who are part of this. Let me bring in other residents. Mama, re le bona kwa lena kotsi e le bone bjang ke kwa le re o ka re dikotsi di a diragala mo pleke ye ka mehla le bone bjang kotsi e
kotsi re harushitse matswalo ko la nle re sepela mo pele tsa rena di botlhoko le mo mebo ya rena lona e robeile wa tse re bona bridge pele tsa rena di ba botlhoko kudu gore ke bile ke bo kgonelo sanje ba re kudianga pesanje ba te ba re tlhatlhobe menagano wala re e re robile ka nnete kotsi ya ona e
le ra la gona o robala matšatšinyana after kotsi
2 days ke sa robala gore ke robetse ke nagana bridge gore pelo ka e ba ka mogomong ke ro ka re nka hoella ka lla ke nagana le ka ngwana la modimo la ke re ngwana modimo ka le ngwana ka ro triana batswadi ya nang ba nna modimo ena wa di list process ka
That is another resident, Miss Shelley Munari, who says she's also severely traumatized after that bus crash, because she says for 2 days after that bus crash she was unable to sleep, thinking about that sole survivor, but also thinking about the other people who lost their lives in that bus crash, stating that she's also a parent. She could imagine what the families of the people who passed on that day were going through. These are highly traumatized residents of Mamatlakala who are saying, had there been a faster response by emergency personnel, perhaps other lives could have been saved during that crash.